we'll get started, and anyone that's a latecomer can just slip right in. So my name is Sanjeet. I'm a Sikh Indian woman teaching a pretty ancient practice of yoga in general. So yoga is a spiritual practice. The physical aspect is actually really new in comparison to the age of yoga. And so my classes meld together some of the spirituality aspects with some of the physical aspects. And a lot of the philosophy that I bring up during class isn't kind of religious banter. This is not conversion. This is just prompts and ideas that you can apply to your life, separate from any sort of religious propaganda. Another thing I want to note is that yoga is not available to everybody. Yoga is a practice used by upper class Hindu, primarily, people in India, and it's inaccessible to a lot of people. So I want to extend my acknowledgement both to Dalit people in India that have been punished for doing yoga, and give my love and hopefully encouragement to have them come to these classes. Also giving thanks to Indigenous people that I am able to practice yoga on this land freely and with love. So beginning our class, we're gonna lay down on our mats if we're not already there and find ways to completely sink in. So laying back into your mat, checking in on your breath. Is it really trapped in your chest? Just noticing it, not changing anything yet. Your body here, does something feel out of place? Can you adjust to make it feel better? Can you wiggle around and give yourself, the most relaxing position possible? Starting with your toes, they pointed up at the sky, or can you just release those muscles, letting them fling to the side? Your knees, are they soft? Are you trying to clench your thighs here at all? Your bum, is it nice and relaxed? Is it in a position that supports your lower back? For those that wish, sometimes a bolster here, if you have one, is great. But none of my classes are built upon having any equipment requirements, so no bolster, that's totally fine. You can do a pillow, you can lift your knees up and point them to the sky to alleviate some of the stretch in the lower back. Do what's right for your body. Thinking here about the lower back, moving up to the spine. Is it aligned? Are you kind of leaning to the left or the right here? Going up to your shoulders, are they kind of up by your ears? Can you wiggle them down? Are your shoulder blades nice and comfy? Can you find a place to allow for elongation in the front of the chest? Neck here, is it nice and long with the back of the head relaxed on the mat? Your chin kind of tucking in towards your chest. Hands, are they clenched into balls? Are they relaxed? Just kind of doing their natural curl. Your forehead and your tongue, what are they up to? Is your forehead furrowed? Is it nice and serene and calm instead? Placid lake? Your tongue, is it glued to the roof of your mouth, or can you let it fall towards the bottom of your teeth? Just giving it that, little bit of a break. We work a lot with our tongue. Taking a deep breath in here. holding it for just a couple of seconds, seeing how it feels to feel really full of air, and breathing it out. Our next big inhale, can we think about this oxygen we breathe as what they say yogis breathe instead, which is prana, which is life energy. Every time we breathe out and breathe in, we consume life energy. So thinking about or visualizing, if you can, what that would be, we breathe in, holding for a second, and breathing out. In through the nose and out through the mouth always feels best for me, but whatever works for you. Taking a couple more deep breaths in your own time here. We breathe in, we breathe out. Remembering what it feels like to breathe in that prana, that life energy. And if you're not aiming for a prana, what it feels like to feel deeply with lots of oxygen. How that feels in your chest and whether you can send that oxygen to other places of your body as we continue our practice today. Slowly bringing a little bit of life to your body, we wiggle the fingers and toes. You can wiggle your bum, we can wiggle your shoulders, you can kind of rotate your head back and forth. Whatever that is that gives a little bit of electricity to you. Bringing one leg in, so it's taking your left leg straight and bringing your right knee towards your nose. We just give ourselves a nice little stretch here. Hugging our shins with our hands. Bringing them into our chest. Just giving a nice little massage here. Straighten out the right. We bring the left in, holding it by our shins, just giving that nice little stretch, our first little warmer for our hips. You can rotate the foot here if that feels good. Bringing the right and left foot up, we come into Happy Baby. The Happy Baby is grabbing the bottom of the feet, that's great. It's grabbing the back of the thighs, that's perfect. Whatever Happy Baby is for you. Rolling, not rolling, rolling in a circle, rolling back and forth. That's perfect. Planting our feet, knees pointed up to the sky. I actually had a pretty interesting conversation with some of my close friends yesterday about how we don't engage our glutes enough when we move. And I actually have this problem all the time. I feel like my glute muscles are something I forget to engage when I walk, when I run, and I feel like a lot of that pressure goes into my knees. So we're going to do like a little bit of a glute check here. So keeping your feet kind of like you could brush the tips of your heels, your heels with the tips of your fingers. We point our knees up to the sky and plant our hands so the palms are down at the ground. We're going to come into a bridge eventually, but for now, just notice your glute muscles, engaging them, and how that feels. Can you engage one at a time? Is one easier to engage? Is one harder to engage? What does it feel like to pay attention to your glutes? They're so critical that I want you to just think about all the procedures you do in a day where you forget to engage them, where you may be potentially making your way to instability where you could hurt your hips, your knees, or even your feet, ankles. With this glute in mind, let's start with our first little bridge. I just want you to go about 50% here, whatever that 50% of a bridge is to you. So keeping the hands nice and firm on the ground, feet nice and planted, let's engage our glutes, engage our core, and lift up just 50%, whatever that is for you, and see what that's like. Keeping those glutes engaged, keeping your knees from splaying outwards, keeping them nice and tucked in. Your legs should be like two straight, both straight, kind of like those funny hot dog pictures you see of ladies on the beach. And releasing here, just giving your glutes a little bit of a break. You can kind of wiggle into your lower back. Keeping your feet planted, hands planted. We're going to lift up again, but 75% of the way. Whatever 75% of a bridge is for you. And lifting, keeping our core engaged, our glutes engaged. We lift even a little bit higher than we did last time. Knees nice and tucked. Think about it as if you had like an elastic band around the top of your legs. Breathing 1 or 2 more deep breaths here. Noticing your feet, are they nice and strong? And releasing. Giving it a little shake. Our last bridge is going to be 100% of a bridge, whatever that is for you. We can tuck our shoulder blades under, which I'll be walking you through, or you can just keep your hands planted and lift your hips up even a slight bit higher than what you were at 75. So keeping our hands planted, engaging our glutes, engaging our core, we lift our hips up to the sky. For those that want to go to a more traditional full bridge, clasping the hands together, wiggling our shoulder blades together so that the shoulder blades are touching, and lifting even a bit higher. Knees here always as if there's a band, kind of keeping them in place. We breathe here. Noticing our glutes, keeping them nice and strong. 2 more deep breaths. And releasing. For those that have their hands clasped, releasing the hands first, unwiggling the shoulder blades, and coming back to the mat. Giving ourselves a little bit of shake. You can hug in here. This is called full wind relieving posture. I know that's a pretty funny name, but that's what it does. Coming to a sitting position, whatever way you want to, whether that's slow or a roll. We come into our mats. And this next pose is a little bit tricky, and you can just do it by simply just grabbing your the bottom of your foot and lifting it up however much that feels good for you. This class is always about what feels good, never pursuing anything that feels out of body. You know yourself way more than I could ever know your body. So we're going to be tucking our bottom of our foot in the crevice of our arm. lifting it up and placing it, keeping our hands together and just giving ourselves a little bit of a hip opener. If that feels too intense, which is okay, it's a very intense pose, you can just lift your foot up any degree that feels right. Breathing in here. If your ankle is kind of twisting, trying to keep it straight just to prevent any harm. This is a pretty intense hip opener for some people. It is for me. So just breathing into it. We always look for spicy, we never look for pain. One more deep breath. We grab onto the foot and slowly release. Let's do the same on the other side. Lifting the foot up, planting it in the crevice, keeping our ankle as straight as feels good. We just open up that hip. One more deep breath. And releasing, grabbing the bottom of the foot, bring it back to the ground. So we will awaken quite a bit in our body right now, but we want to continue to think about how our body moves. Yoga is about that spirituality. And the way that a lot of cultures tap into that spirituality is by sitting still. Yoga and meditation are not two separate things, they're hand in hand. So I try to incorporate meditation into the class to give you that time to settle into your emotions, settle into your thoughts, and really settle into your body. So we're going to do meditation here. You can have your hands on your knees, up towards the sky, or in any mudra that feels good for you. For those that want a little prompt for that, Dhyan Mudra, which is putting the thumb and the pointer finger together, is about knowledge. So placing the hands on the knees or in any way that feels right. We sit up nice and tall, finding a nice balance in our bum. And we breathe here, closing the eyes. It's a pretty gloomy day. But somehow rainy days allow us to water ourselves as well. We need water to grow. Sometimes we need to be watered to grow. But when we water and water ourselves or other people, and we don't let ourselves time to grow out, to soak up those nutrients, we stunt our growth, or we leave our watering can empty. Yoga as real yoga, as yuj, which is the root of union, yoga meaning union, is union and watering and growing of the mind with the body with the soul, the mind with the soul with the spirit, and the spirit or God or whatever with the universe. So we think about rain as really a way for us to get the nutrients that we need to help us grow. And we could think about yoga or any sort of self-care in the same way. Everything we do to help ourselves is wonderful. But if we don't take time to process that help, can just kind of go missing. Sitting still with our emotions, sitting still with our mind, sitting still with our intentions allows us time to fully process what it means to grow. Watering ourselves an adequate amount so that we may blossom, and watering others the adequate amount so that our watering can isn't empty. For those that wish to have a prompt, that is my prompt for today. Something to focus on, or an intention is to water ourselves adequately. But if you have something else that you would love to work through, setting that intention right now, if that feels good, and really just breathing into it. As we move, we unlock things in our body. We unlock memories, we unlock feelings. Moving with intention allows us to live yoga. It allows us this idea of real union with ourselves. Taking our last deep breath here. Make it a good one. We sigh out anything we don't want. Moving in any way that feels good, your head, your shoulders, giving a little bit of a shake. We flutter our eyes open. And we come into just a bit of a squat. So planting feet on the ground about hip width apart, maybe a little bit wider if that feels better. Come and place our hands into a prayer position. Our feet can face forward, or they can kind of face at a 45 degree. And what we're going to do is we can stay here if a squat is already quite spicy. Or we can take our hands into this prayer and use the outside of the arm to push into the outside of our knees, the inside of our knees, to just give a little bit of a stretch into the hips. Breathing into here. Breathing into any spiciness, pulling back if there is any pain at all. Beautiful. Twisting so we can plant our hands at the front of the mat. We rotate our body so that we come onto our knees. This is just a general table. But if we point our toes, we sit back. It's kind of like a high downward dog. You can feel this quite a bit in your shoulders. You might feel this in your lower back. Not kind of fully going into child's pose, but just kind of like playing with this feeling here. And from here, we push up into our first full downward dog of the day. So lifting up, rotating our legs so that our feet are nice, and kind of finding their way to the mat. Just moving in this downward dog in whatever way makes you feel like this kind of strenuous pose is exactly what it's supposed to be, which is this pose of relaxation. It's a paw pose, it's a moon pose, a pose of just hanging out. And when you're ready, walking your feet to your hands or your hands to your feet, we come to standing. We're going to be moving through sun salutations. I think at least one of you was in my class last week, but we'll move our first round slowly and go pick up the pace after. These sun salutations are classical Hatha, so they move a little bit differently than ones in other yoga classes. So planting our feet on the ground, standing up nice and tall, we swing our arms forward and up and slightly back into a back bend. Hands coming into prayer, we fold all the way forward. Planting the fingertips on the ground, we take our right foot, stepping it back, planting the knee on the ground. We look up at the sky into a lunge. Planting the hands, left and right foot meet. Knees, chin, and chest come to the ground. Bum stays up into the sky. Slithering forward, we push up into cobra, noticing our shoulders nice and down. Lifting our feet up into downward dog, our knees up into this pose. Lifting our right leg, we step it between the hands, planting our left knee on the ground, looking up at the sky. Left and right foot meet into a forward fold. We swing our arms up and back again into that little back bend and hands to heart center. Feeling good? Let's do another few rounds of that. Sun salutation is perfect balance. When I did some training in India, when I went to some classes there, they talked about it being the only exercise you need to do in yoga, really, because it is perfectly balanced of folding back and forth, engaging the right muscles. So we do lots of them. Inhaling, we sweep up, bend back. Exhaling, we fold forward. Inhaling, our fingertips come to the ground. We take our left foot back, planting the knee to the ground, looking up at the sky. Hands flat on the ground. We come into a plank. Knees, chin, and chest come to the ground, bum up to the sky. Inhaling, we go up to cobra. Exhaling, we push back into downward dog. Lifting our left leg up, we step it between the hands, planting the right knee on the ground, looking up at the sky. Left and right foot meet, forward fold. Inhale, we swing our arms forward and slightly back. Exhale, hands to heart center. Let's do a couple more rounds. Inhale, up and back. Exhale, hands prayer all the way forward. Tips of the fingers to the ground, taking your right foot back, putting the knee down, looking up at the sky, our nice lunge here. Planting the hands, left and right foot meet in a plank. Knees, chin, and chest to the ground, bum up to the sky. Inhale, we go into cobra. Exhale, push up into downward dog. Inhale, right leg lifts up and steps between the hands back into our lunge. Our left knee on the ground, eyes up to the sky. Left foot and right foot meet in our forward fold. Inhale, we sweep up, bend back. exhale, hands to heart center. Last side to balance things out. Inhale, we sweep up and back. Exhale, hands prayer all the way down. Planting our tips of our fingers in the ground, left leg steps back, knee comes to the ground, we look up at the sky. Planting our hands flat, we come into our plank, where our knees, chin, and chest come to the ground, bum up to the sky. Inhale, cobra. Checking your shoulders, are they earrings or are they nice and set back? Exhale, downward dog. We're gonna hang out here for just a quick second, noticing how this one feels versus the last. Inhaling, lift our left leg up, stepping it between the hands. Our right knee comes to the ground. We look up at the sky. And just also hanging out here for a second, checking that lunge. How are your hips feeling? Is this really intense? Exhaling, our left and right foot meet. Once again, let's just hang out here, literally. Arms can swing back and forth. You can cup your elbows. Just noticing how that feels. Can you really just release your head here? Slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, let's come to standing. Okay, I know downward dog is a critical pose. It's also kind of tricky. So we're gonna work on a few of them today, just to build stability. It's really important. So we're gonna push back into a downward dog, just from standing. So we can either just like flop forward, planting our hands and then stepping back, or whatever way feels right for you. So from here, I want you to just check your body, settle into this. A really important thing to notice is your hands. So yoga hands are a really tricky thing to get, but you should think about it as you are putting pressure on every single digit and also around the cup of your hands. In the middle almost acts like a suction cup. So that suction cup should feel like it's really the thing sticking you to the mat. So from here, we're gonna lift our right leg up and we're gonna twist out. So I'll do it on the opposite side so you can see. Just twisting out, creating a bit of openness in that hip. And then bringing that hip, that knee into the nose. And just holding for a second. Now opening up. And bringing it in for a second. Wonderful. Let's do the other side. Just finding a little bit of relaxation. Just hanging out here. I know your arms might be tired. Let's open up our hip. Bringing the knee into the nose. Just one more round, I promise. Opening up the hip. Bring it into the nose. You can do this. And releasing. Let's just plant ourselves down into child's pose. Giving our arms a little bit of a break. Checking in on your breath. Are you keeping nice and deep breaths here? Taking a second to think about your intention. finding our way here up to a seated posture and then up to standing, however you wish. We're going to be doing pyramid pose. Pyramid pose happens in so many ways, but the way that I prefer to do it is a little bit less spicy than some, and I'll give you some variations to add spicy. So placing the right foot at the front of the mat, the left foot can either be straight or can be at a 45-degree angle, just to play around with it and see what feels good. And also you should be thinking about your hips here. So this is a pose we call a symmetrical pose. So you want both of your hips to be like headlights of a car. They're pointing forward. It's almost as if like you could walk straight. And so just adjusting yourself, you might take a wider stance between your two legs here. Your hands can either cup your elbows, or if it feels good, some people like doing the prayer behind the back. For me, cupping elbows is perfect. And what we want to do here is keep our upper body nice and long. And what we want to do is hinge at our hips. We don't want to flop forward. We want our hips to act as if they're a hinge for a door. So hinging forward. For those that are a little bit more hinge inclined than others, you can also just like hinge completely forward and grab onto the ankle. But for me, this slight hinge gives my back of my leg a lot of spicy. Beautiful. One more deep breath. Coming back up by unhinging the top of the body. What I want you to do is actually just bend the front knee a little. Come up with the actual toes of the back leg. And just give that back leg a little bit of a stretch. Kind of playing around with it, similar to like what happens in downward dog. Just giving it a couple of pumps. If you want to look for extra spicy, you can just straighten both legs out and lean forward and give it just that extra stretch. Great. So from here, we're going to move into a warrior 3, so a balancing pose. So you want to open up the toes, so you're creating roots into the ground. A warrior 3 is a full, long pose, but it can also be however you want it to be. So if you're not feeling comfortable today and your balance is off today with warrior, feeling nervous about going into warrior, warrior can be this, warrior can be this, warrior can be this, warrior can be this. Okay? So I'm going to lead the pose into full warrior, but you should do whatever feels right. So starting with the foot, we plant it into the ground. Our core is nice and tight. We're keeping ourselves nice and tight here. Our alignment, so just like checking our bodies and seeing how our belly button, or just above our belly button, will balance us here. And slowly, we lift our arms up. And just like with pyramid, we hinge ourselves forward, finding that bit of balance. Trying to talk and do poses, balancing poses, is always really tricky. A yogi's worst nightmare. And releasing. Let's do the same on the other side. So if you're doing a variation on warrior, just move into that. If you're doing full, planting the left foot on the ground, keeping our core nice and tight, lifting our arms up to the sky, keeping them nice and strong, finding that point that feels like it's balanced or that you're aligned, and hinging forward. Checking if one side feels way harder than the other. And releasing. Great job. My warrior 3 is not that great. We're working on it together. From here, let's just do a quick, nice and easy forward fold. So, placing the feet on the mat as wide as what feels nice. We're just going to bend our knees here. Taking the arms, we're going to crisscross them across the body. So, right hand on left thigh, left hand on right thigh, and we're just going to give ourselves a little bit of a twist. You can add spiciness by taking this lower, just some spices to your legs, but also just kind of with each breath, just giving that upper spine a nice little twist. Some people also find this one that want some extra spicy, actually keeping the hands on the same legs allows for a further extension. Either or works. Checking your glutes here. Are your glutes engaged? It will help with the rest of your legs. Coming out of this position, like you do with any position with your legs, you engage your glutes, engage your core. You never dump into your knees. From here, we've done most of our standing postures. My advice for you over the next week is to really focus on your bum. Your engagement of your glutes prevents your feet from duck footing. It keeps your hips nice and aligned and cushioned. It helps with your core activity. And it really prevents a lot of knee injuries. So just like when you're walking around, just check in, see if your bum's engaged. Speaking of bums, another important part of moving safely is with toes. So we're just going to stretch out our toes a little bit. So coming back into a squat, we're just going to balance on the top of our toes if that feels okay. If you wish, you can flip the toe the other way and give that front of the foot a nice little stretch. We use our feet so much, but we always forget that they also need stretching. Okay, moving to the other side, giving that nice little stretch to the right foot. Flipping it so the toes are underneath if that feels okay. Just giving the top of the foot a little stretch. We're going to continue that stretch either by, the next pose is going to be half lotus. Some people find half lotus just like something their body won't be able to do. That's totally okay. Taking this in a seated position is 100% a great pose. For those that wish, lifting the foot up and placing it into the crevice, you can put it on the thigh or into the crevice of your left hip. We come into half lotus. We lift our arms up to the sky, and this will give our feet a nice stretch. For those that are in cross-legged, this will also give you a nice stretch. But just floating forward any amount that feels good. If you're here, that's a perfect fold. Don't push your body beyond anything that feels right for it. And if you need to align yourself or do something differently during any of my classes, I will never tell you wrong. You know your body right. For those that are in half lotus, just checking how that foot feels. Kind of is nice to get a little bit of a stretch into the top of the foot and ankle. Coming out of this position by walking the hands back towards the body. We release the foot from anywhere that it is, and if you're cross-legged, let's put the other foot in front, the other leg in front. For those that are going into half lotus, you can either place the foot on the thigh or into the crevice of the right hip. We're going to do the same, just kind of fold over. So lifting our arms up to the sky, we fold forward any amount that feels good. Breathing into any discomfort, any spiciness, but if there's any pain, pulling back. Coming out of this pose by walking the hands towards the body, we release. We're going to do half lotus fish. So this pose can happen in a lot of ways. So just keeping the legs in front, straight in front of you. We take the right leg and we kind of pop it over just in front of the left knee. Keeping ourselves nice and strong. This is a perfect pose that will allow us to twist. For those that are looking for a little bit more pretzel action, we take our left foot and we curl it underneath. So it will look like this. You want to make sure that your foot isn't getting in the way of your bum sitting flush onto the ground. So from here, we take our right arm and we hook it onto the right knee. Our left falls behind us and we just find a little twist here. For those looking for extra spicy, you can bind. But only if that feels good. Also, your gaze can be behind you, but if that's bad for your neck, don't do it. Two more breaths. And releasing. Just giving yourselves a little bit of a counter twist here, so just twisting the other way. I often find the counter twist feels way better than the actual twist. Bringing both of our legs in front, we'll do the opposite. So lifting our left leg up, placing it on the outside of the right leg. Our right leg can stay straight, that's perfect. Or it can curl underneath. This time it's our left arm that goes up and hooks onto the outside of our left leg. Our right arm comes behind us as we twist. For those looking to bind here, can totally bind. It's funny because different sides allow us to bind differently. For me, this one isn't as easy. breaths here. We release our hands. Give ourselves a nice counter twist again. And that's the portion of our physical asana for class. Our last little part, before we completely wind down, is taking those intentions that we said at the beginning of the class, remembering how that Shavasana felt at the very beginning of the class, kind of melding them together. Because pranayama, which is breath technique, is so pivotal to a yogic practice. And it's because they view it as a purifying practice. We've opened up so much of our body. These things in our body called fascia, these portions of our muscles, they hold things. They hold toxins, they hold memories, they hold feelings. And when we work out, when we stretch ourselves, we release these. And what pranayama is said to do is to breathe out any of that. So, breathing in, just one nice deep breath. We take our two fingers, it's kind of like a live long and prosper pose. We place the pointer finger and the middle finger on the middle of our forehead. Our thumb encloses our right nostril, and our ring finger encloses our left nostril. So I'll kind of get closer to the camera so you can see. So our middle fingers, our thumb on our left, and our ring on our right. Breathing here, let's close our right nostril with our ring finger. Breathe in through our left. Closing our left, breathing out through our right. In through our right. Out through our left. In through our left. Out through our right. In through our right. Out through our left. In through our left. Out through our right. In through our right. Out through our left. We're going to do a little bit of a holding pattern here. So blowing it all out and holding. Breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. We close the nostrils and hold for 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out of the right nostril, 1, 2, 3, 4. We hold the breath, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing in through the right nostril, 1, 2, 3, 4. Plugging both nostrils, we hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just now releasing the hand, shaking into that. When we close our nostrils, they say it's believed that you enact different sides of your brain. So you activate your left and your right side, which are representatives of the sun and moon. When we activate, we give ourselves space to be able to sit. To breathe freely. To water ourselves adequately. From here, keeping that flow of breath nice and light. You can either stay in seated meditation or lay down in Savasana for the end of class. Remembering all the things that you've learned today. Soaking into those little learnings, whether they're conscious or unconscious, and taking time to notice yourself and your body. What has changed? What is warmer? What is cooler? Remembering what it feels like to be in your form. Remembering what it feels like to be in your breath. Remembering what it felt like to actually meditate. This is the end of our class, but I think myself, I will just turn off the Zoom and allow myself just time to sit in seated meditation. I encourage you, if you're either in seated or Shavasana, just take this next couple of minutes just to think and set intentions for yourself. Thank you for coming to my class. I hope you enjoyed it. You can reach out to me at any time. And I hope you have a beautiful week.